We are on with the head ball coach of the Ursuline Irish, Keith Gunther. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys today?
Doing well, doing well. Steve, take it away. This is your
Coach,
interview.
first of all, I could hear the excitement in your voice, so practice must be a go today. It's safe to say that.
Practice is a go. I'm headed there now. Be ready to go here in about 10 minutes. So looking forward to it.
It does
man.
not.
We're pumped that we're still playing.
Yeah, Coach, I'll let DJ jump into me, but Grace just was on before you talking about some things and how hard it is for these kids to play and to do things. On your end of it, Coach, you've done this a long time. We've become very good friends. I know my daughter thinks highly of you as a motivator, as a model, as a coach. Is there something for you? I've been preaching a lot, Keith, of, fear this pandemic, respect it, but fight it. From your end of it, for this basketball team this year, is there something that's been a blessing for you that has gotten you closer with this group of kids?
Well, actually, it's just a blessing that we get to actually come together. I know it's sporadic and we're breaking off and kids are getting quarantined, but there's a part of it that makes you appreciate life also. I mean, I tell our kids that, we're getting to practice. You got to realize, some people are hospitalized, some people aren't together, some families aren't together, but we still get to be together as our basketball family. So we got to take every day that we get to practice as a blessing and make sure we appreciate that because, we don't know if this season is going to get taken away from us or not. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months. So, you can see the excitement and the joy of just being, in the gym together and practicing. And a lot of times at this stage of the game, you don't see that. If you start to see the kids where, all they care about is playing a game. Well, our kids are actually to the point where they're enjoying practice and just being together.
Coach, one of the things that we talk a lot about here at YSN with coaches and with student athletes is battling adversity. You've battled adversity in your personal life, your professional life, and obviously every day you wake up and you're battling something as a human being.
Right.
Talk to me about what kind of you're educating your student athletes, your players on adversity and how to face it on a daily basis. And they're kind of learning trial by fire with all of this with COVID, correct?
That is correct. And, we are pretty open-minded, as a team and as a staff. And, I talked about them about some, I had a small battle with cancer about a year and a half ago. And, I talked to them about that. And I just, the one thing we tell them about life is never just going to be Kool-Aid and Cadillacs and nice cars and beautiful houses. You're going to go through some things in time. And you got to learn how to deal with that. You have to learn that things aren't going to always go the way you think they should go. Everything's not going to always be perfect. And the one thing you got to be resilient to is to the fact that you got to keep moving forward and keep pressing forward. That's one of the main things we keep telling them. I know a lot of people are upset about the pandemic, so am I. But at the end of the day, you still got to keep moving forward. You got to keep living life, and you got to find the positives out of life.
Well, we're looking forward to being a part of Ursuline basketball again on YSN. And Keith, this is big. We've talked about this, the fans. I just have told people, right now it's just parents. But let's be honest, like you said, this changes so much. I said, my opinion, the support for my daughter or whoever to play basketball, if it gets to that point of no fans, I think that is a thing that's going to be important for models like you. You are such a good role model for the players that play for you at Ursuline High School. My question is, how much has it changed for you this past year and having to deal with what you're dealing with, like you said, on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, you know what? The greatest thing is that we got to watch the NBA play without fans, and it's still exciting. Is it as exciting with the fans? No, it's not even close. But there's an excitement that sports and camaraderie brings that I'm sorry, and life. That's the only thing that's, some of the greatest experiences I've had is being involved with a team and sports. So, these kids are getting quarantined. A lot of kids aren't in school. So when they get to come to be with their sports family, no matter if there's fans or not, there's still a level of excitement that motivates them and gets them, some excitement that's still with what's going on in 2020.
So let's talk about expectations for a minute. Obviously, Ursuline always coming in with high expectations for yourself, for your team. Does the current situation we're in right now, does it change the expectations that you and your team have for this season in 2020?
Doesn't it just does not change the expectations one bit. To be honest with you, we weren't sure who we were going to have coming from football, what type of team we were going to have. We knew we'd have a chance to be really good, but here in the last couple of weeks, everybody came from football that we were hoping would come. Now, a couple of guys are still quarantined. Dean Boyd is out with an injury, but we have some pretty significant talent. They're young, they're tough, but our expectation is nothing less than win the district, and that's what we've talked about from the first practice. And, I tell everybody, you can make expectations in the state, that's great, but you can't win state without winning a district first. So that's our main goal, win district against some really talented teams in the area. We know Struthers is really good. We know Cheney's really good. We know there's a lot of talented teams, but my expectations are no different. If some things happen, we got some young guys that step up, and I feel that's my focus is to win the district.
All right, I got a question for you as a coach, and I'm a 35-year-old man, and I'm having trouble because coaches talk about confidence and players talk about swagger. What's the difference between confidence and swagger for your guys especially?
For my guys, you know what I tell them all the time. When we step on the floor, I want the other team to look down and have just a little bit of an intimidation factor without you saying a word, with you just about your presence on the floor. You'd be surprised by when certain people walk in a room or certain teams walk on a court, they have a bit of a swagger about them, and they don't have to say a word. That's what I call swagger. Confidence is built up by work ethic, and that's my main point. I tell my kids all the time, when you work hard and you practice, that's how you gain confidence. So confidence comes with work. Swagger is just about a spirit about yourself. When you walk into a room or you walk onto a court, swagger is a presence about your body and about yourself.
Wait a second now. First of all, you don't let your kids have swagger. I've been around. First of all, what he's saying is he's right, because I was one of those guys when I coached against him. If you weren't intimidated by them or you weren't prepared to strap up and play the game the way it's supposed to be played, you were going to get your butt handed to you. Number one. Number two, you're right on with what you say about that. I think that's what's, Keith, and you've done this a long time. I think that's what's making our area better in basketball these last few years, that coaches are getting after kids and being a little more demanding. I know are demanding, but we just had this talk before you came on. Today's society lets you get soft and make excuses. I love what you do at Ursuline. I love that Grace is there and watches what you do, because you're there for that student athlete to get better. You play the best, you schedule the best, and I say this as a coach in baseball. If you don't believe in everything you say about being good and winning championships, then you shouldn't say it.
Exactly. That's 100%. And that's just part of it. I agree 100%. We've gotten soft on our kids in society, and we've got to get back to some, to some old school, hardcore, teaching these kids to be great young men, tough young men, face some adversity, don't cry about it, get through, suck it up, play tough, play hard. And, that's always been my philosophy. Now, I'll be honest with you, I cannot be the same coach that I was in 06 that I can be today. I mean, you have to adapt somewhat, but you still have to have your core principles, and you have to be you. But at the end of the day, I'll be honest, in order for you to have a good basketball team, you still have to adapt a little bit. I'll use a perfect example of that. I think Bobby Knight's one of the greatest coaches. I don't think he adapted to the kids, and I think that you have to still be able to adapt to the changing times and to the kids. You still got to be yourself, but you still got to be able to change a little bit also.
Okay, so you talk about change. Accountability is a big word in sports right now. They talk about it from top down, from pro levels down to T-ball. When you look at accountability, how has it changed for you, and how do you still apply it to your student athletes, to your guys on a daily basis?
Here's the thing: if you can't come into my practice, you can't come in our program, and you can't be there 15 minutes before we kick off, that's accountability to me. If you can't come in the gym and work hard every day, if you can't work on your academics, then I really don't. And lastly, if you can't be a good person, then I don't want you a part of my program, because you got to have some core values that you stand for, and that's what I mean by being accountable. You know, that's the main thing that we got to make sure we instill in our young men and our young ladies. You have to be accountable to something or to someone, and that's the main thing that we still push in our program. If you're not accountable, you can't play for me. And honestly, there's a lot of kids that have, you know, transferred because of how tough I am, or have not played because of how tough I am. You know, at the end of the day, it's funny to see those kids that have transferred to come back years later and say, I see what you were trying to instill in me. I see what you were trying to do for me. Because at the end of the day, it's all in love. It's not because I just want to be that hardcore person. I know what the world's like. I'm 52 years old. I know how tough it is out here. We have to be that way in order to instill and make our kids to be able to survive.
I got a new role model. I mean, straight up, I have a new role model. This guy, I mean, Keith, I've heard so much about you, and that's tough, you know, because we come from an area in Youngstown where, you know, we're grit city, right? We're born and bred out of this, and we've got to, you know, punch the clock, grab our hard hat, and protect ourselves. And, you know, society continues to get a little bit softer, and these kids are a byproduct of it. You see flashes of it, of the old school, and it's nice to know that there's coaches out there that still kind of put that element and that accountability not only on their kids, but put them on themselves, like Coach Gunther does.
Well, he does that. Coach, before we let you go, talk a little bit of some of the guys the Ursuline fans can keep an eye out on this basketball team. Before you do that, DJ, I'm going to say this. He has 2 daughters that were phenomenal athletes, but he's got one sitting in the wings. I will leave it at that. He can talk about that. You want to talk about work ethic and getting after things. I watch my man shoot the basketball at halftime of Ursuline games, and the percentage is pretty high. He spends a lot of time with it, but that's why he has to stick around at the U for many, many more years. But Coach, talk about some of the key performers you have some expectations about.
Okay, so we got some really talented kids coming back. We got, of course, Brady Shannon, our quarterback. He's one of our key guys that's coming back. Ja'Kylan Irvin, who's right now in quarantine, is coming back for us. We have DeMarcus McElroy, one of the key football players, great running back. Vinny Filato has really surprised me this year. He's only a sophomore. He's coming back. And the name that a lot of people will be talking about for the next couple of years is the main. He's our best basketball player, hands down, is Terrence Pankey. Terrence is coming back. And for those of you guys that don't remember the DeAndre Brown era when he played for us, Terrence is a very similar player to DeAndre Brown, who played at Cleveland State, played overseas. So, we got Tyler Beck, who's a senior, coming back for a second year. We have Zach Papelia coming back, and then we have another freshman. He's pretty big and pretty talented. He's about 6'5", 6'6". Jaden Payne, and one other freshman. We got Gino Lucini that's coming back. So, a lot of core guys that are talented, and we just got to put it together, get them to gel, get them time together, and if things go the way I think they should, it's gonna be a great year for us.
Coach, I can't tell you how excited we are to watch Ursuline basketball all year on YSN. Of course, Keith Gunther, the head coach of the Ursuline boys basketball team, joining us here as we look to wrap up the show. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you our question of the day. A little bit of a curveball, as we typically do, so I apologize in advance. Not a basketball question.
Go ahead.
You're the best Christmas song out there right now, according to Keith Gunther.
Whitney Houston, Little Drummer Boy.
That a boy.
See, he's old school. He's old school. Here's my last question before we let you go.
Sure.
You've coached DeAndre. You've coached Mark Hughes. Pankey, I watched last year. I'm in full agreement. But I'm going to get a little personal with you because I think you can. Talk about your son a little bit. How, and I know your relationships with your daughters are outstanding, but this relationship with your son through hoops, Keith, talk about that and how special that is.
It's an unbelievable experience. To both of my daughters were Division I athletes. I'll put that out there. Macy played softball at Wright State. Megan ran track at YSU. Both doing great in life, doing amazing things. But coming up with my son's been in the gym with me from the day he was born. He's had a basketball in his hand, and I'm not kidding you, in his crib from the day he came home. And that kid, he works at it. He's one of the top 6th graders in Ohio, and I don't tell him this too much, but the kid works at it, and he's talented. He's really talented, and he's got a bright future. The only issue that we talk about is, whether I'm staying here and coaching him or, whether he's going to stay at LeBray. I'll be honest with you, we don't have a definite answer on that yet. I have such a great relationship with my son. I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to his 8th grade year, we'll make that decision whether I'm staying and coaching him or whether I'll be straightforward with you. If my son's not playing for me, I won't be coaching here. I'll be watching him. If he is playing for me, great, because I think it'll be an amazing experience. I've talked to a lot of guys about it who've already done it. I look forward to that, but if that's something that we don't feel as a family is an appropriate thing or the right thing to do that it's going to ruin our relationship, I won't do it. Because me and him right now, we got a great relationship. Love him to death. He works his butt off, and he is. He's very talented. He's going to be a really good basketball player. The other thing I'll say is there's a lot of his friends at LeBray that are really talented also. So I have to take that in consideration, that am I going to pull him from his friends and that talented group? Don't get me wrong, I know we'd have a talented group here, but that's a decision that we're going to make when he finishes up his 8th grade basketball year.
Well, Coach, you got a new fan in me, because I'm super impressed by the conversation we had, and I look forward to your Coach's Corners with Steve all year here on YSN, and we'll be watching from afar and from a close here on your sports network. So best of luck today at practice, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot of the green and gold on YSN.
Great. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, Coach. Thanks.